Did you want me just to start it, or are you gonna?
Sure, sorry. um, yes, I'll lead in. Sorry, I was grabbing my mug. So for all of the folks that are on here, we have a lot of repeat offenders on our morning mugs. We have quite the following. So kudos to you guys for showing up every Monday. And I thought, who better to talk about the Power of One than one of the great minds behind the Power of One report, and now our national director. So I asked him if he could shed some light on the angle of the Power of One and really just help motivate you all. Like I was saying, we have quite the following, and it tends to be the same folks every week. I'm noticing some new faces or new names on our morning mugs this morning, so I hope you'll continue with us. But I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Tim, and take it from there.
Great. So I want to do just a real quick audio check because we did get one person typed in that says they're not hearing any audio now. So if somebody could just type in that they are hearing this, that would make sure we're good to go. I don't know if it's a tech issue on one side or if it's everybody.
Yeah, I
All right. So we got a lot of good people. All right, so thank you, Cathy, for inviting me on, and I know we have about a half hour, a little bit less now, and this is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. The Power of One report is something I created in New Hampshire years ago, and I have the Power of One podcast because I fundamentally believe in it and the importance of it. So I could talk all day about it, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go through just a couple of slides real quick, and then I figured the best thing that we could do is probably open it up to some questions, as that's where I think people get the most value. So just from a standpoint of the Power of One, we'll quickly cover just what it is, the why behind it, and the importance to you in your chapter. I always start with this very simple question, and maybe people could type in their answers just to make sure we're on the same page about how referrals really work. So the question, true or false, people who know you, like you, and trust you will pass you consistent quality referrals, and doing a good job, offering great customer service, and taking care of your clients will get you more referrals. So if you just type in whether you believe these to be true or false, I just want to make sure we're starting on the same page. So we got true, 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 a lot of trues coming in, true, true, false, somebody's supposed to. These are actually both fundamentally false, believe it or not, and it's kind of why I created the Power, one of the reasons I created the Power of One. And I'm sure there's a lot of people looking kind of like, what's this guy talking about right now? Both things are very, very important to your success in BNI and to success in business and to success in general when it comes to referrals. People need to know you, they need to like you, they need to trust you. Without those, they will not refer you. However, we're often led to believe that that's enough. That if people know us, like us, and trust us, they'll pass us good, consistent referrals. And I always follow that up when I present somewhere and ask them, all right, just by a show of hands, how many of you get good, consistent referrals from your mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends from high school, friends from college, and very few hands really go up. And why is that? Is it that they don't like us and trust us? No, it's just that it takes a different type of relationship. There are fundamentally two things you need to do in order, and I apologize for my sound, but dealing with the cold of all the travel. Two things you need to do in order to generate referrals on a consistent basis from someone. Number one is you have to get them to want to do that. So knowing you, liking you, and trusting you is an important factor in getting me to want to help you. Without that want to, it never happens. And the truth is why we don't get a lot of referrals from our family and friends is because they don't want to. Not that they maliciously don't want to, but they're not thinking of us in that terms. They don't think of us in business terms. And when they do, it's because they often need something and they want it. They have unrealistic expectations of us, right? Of free, fast, or whatever. So you need to develop the right relationship with somebody, a business relationship with somebody where they have mentally decided that they want to have a reciprocal, helpful relationship with you. It's one of the benefits of BNI. What BNI does is it dramatically decreases the time to develop that relationship, both because of the structure, but more importantly, because of the philosophy. People join knowing and believing that they want to help other people. So that's the first part. If I don't know you, if I don't like you, if I don't trust you, any of those three, I'm not going to refer you. So they are important. The second part is why is probably the biggest myth I'm on a soapbox trying to combat, because I believe it leads to why most small businesses fail in their first 3 years, is that believing that if we do a good job, we'll get referrals. And unfortunately, that's not true either. Doing a great job, offering great customer service, taking care of your clients, again, vital to your success. Without it, you will not last long in business. But it doesn't generate referrals for us. What it does is it keeps us from losing referrals. Okay, and there's a big fundamental difference between the two, but they can be, we can perceive one for the other. And this is where a lot of people, I think, make mistakes when it comes to networking. Either they don't do enough of it because they think that their pipeline is always going to be full, or they waste their time when networking, especially in BNI, by going around and talking about how great their customer service is and how great they take care of their clients. Those things are expected. Without taking care of your clients, without doing a good job, you're not going to get many referrals anyways. So you don't need to spend time talking about it. So I just wanted to kind of set that stage, because what the second piece to getting referrals from people is not only getting them to want to, but we need to teach them how to. And that's where BNI really comes into play. So there are 3 types of referrals that we get in BNI and that we should be focused on. Number 1 is simple referrals. Simple referrals are meant there's no energy required from the person finding the referral for you. They literally spend no energy finding it. If you want to type in if anybody has what you think it might be an example of a simple referral. So just give you an example of it. Tier 1 referral. So inside the chapter, I use your service as a fellow member as a Tier 1 referral. It takes me no energy to pass myself as a referral. Or I'm sitting in my office, the phone rings, and they say, hey, Tim, who do you know that does XYZ? And I know you and I trust you, so I pass that referral. Those are both quality referrals. They're both valuable, but they're simple. And the problem with simple referrals are they are nothing more than a matter of luck. You are lucky that my friend called me and asked that question, not one of their hundreds of other contacts who would have referred somebody differently. Now, one of the reasons you want larger chapters is because you'll get luckier more often. However, we can't rely on simple referrals. If we really want to be successful, if we really want to grow our business, if we really want to build a consistent pipeline, simple referrals will never be enough. What we need to do is start moving down the line and really focusing on the second type, which is what we call compound referrals. Compound referrals are when your fellow member can identify referral opportunities for you. They understand what they look like, what they sound like, what they feel like, whatever that is, and how to bring them to you. That's a skill set that they need to learn. It's knowledge. They need to be able to, in their day-to-day, identify referral opportunities for you and how to bring those referral opportunities back to you. And this is where the training of BNI really comes into play. And the biggest value, I think, in BNI is getting not only training, but coaching and support from executive directors like you guys have on learning these skill sets. It's a skill set to know how to teach other people to find referrals for you. You need to learn that part. You need to learn words to use, words not to use, focuses, how to be specific, how to utilize and maximize your time when doing a featured presentation or a weekly presentation, how to make your one-to-ones truly effective. This is where training comes into play, and it's often the most overlooked value, because the problem with networking is it's paradoxical in the sense that people know they need to, so everybody assumes they know how to. And we don't. I wasn't taught this in college. I wasn't taught this when I first entered the business world. It's something we really need to tap into and master. Complex is when your referral givers can go out and create opportunities for you, and that's the top of the line type of referral, and you can't expect that the majority of your chapter will ever get that to that point, but there are people who have certain opportunities to do that for you. Those would be your contact spheres, and why you want to focus your growing your contact sphere inside your chapter. And I'm going quick because I know we got like 15 minutes, and I do a 2-hour training just on these 3 things, so it goes much deeper. All right, so we need people to start learning how to find us referrals. First thing they need to know is who are you looking for. The second thing they need to know is how. Triggers, right? How do they identify them? I'm going to give you a real quick exercise. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I want you to look at this picture and try to make a mental list or a physical list, whatever you want to do, of everything you see in there that is red. I'll just give you a few seconds. Okay, now taking that picture away, if you can tell me everything you saw that was green. And it's often difficult. Why? Because we were so focused on red. This is an important thing to realize, is that your members do not know what a good referral for you looks like. They do not know what it sounds like. People are not walking around the streets with a sign around their neck saying, I'm in need of. So what does somebody who's in need of your services really look like? What are they saying? What are they doing? What, could be just, it's any of the senses, something I hear, feel, see, smell, taste, whatever, right? You walk into an office building, it's freezing cold. That could be a good referral for your HVAC person. How do you identify them? And how do you, what do you say when you do? So who, how, what? That's going to be your main focus in B&I, teaching people who, how, what. Who are you looking for? How do I find them? What do I say to them? So how does this get into power of one and everything? Well, how do we educate people? How do we train them on these things? How do we make our members more effective for us when we're in B&I so they're finding these? Well, we show up, right? We have consistent attendance, both from ourselves and an expectation of consistent attendance from our other members we're trying to train. We do one-to-ones on a consistent basis with focus and with efficiency and effectiveness, so that we're not just having lunch. And I've seen members put in one-to-one slips because they ran into each other at the beer line at the baseball game. We're not trying to game the system. We're actually focused our time. We learn how to, CEUs, we train ourselves on how to do this more effectively, right? And how do we increase our opportunities? Meaning, how do we get more people to train? The only way you become more efficient in B&I is to have more people in your chapter, right? If you're going to invest the time to do weekly presentations and feature presentations, it's better to have 50 people listening to them than 20 people listening to them. It's better to have 50 people in their contacts and opportunities looking for referrals for us than 20. It's about efficiency. The second part of the equation is effectiveness, which is how well you do those activities. But the more people you do in front of, the more opportunities. So more one-to-ones, again, increasing those opportunities, learning, where they're going this week, who they're meeting, and inviting, growing your contacts here so you can get more people to find you compound and complex referrals. So the power of one is an activity report. It's designed to allow you to see these two parts instantaneous. Are you being active enough for the results you say you want, right? So are you being active enough to deserve the results you say you desire? And are you being effective enough? Okay, so the scoring shows you activity, and it's all it is. It's a history report. There's nothing you can do about the score. It just shows you your last 6 months, but it's where do you go from here? Are you being active? So if you're in the red and gray, it's very hard to argue that B&I is not working when you're not working the system. But being in the green doesn't mean you're going to get results either if you're not effective. So if you're in the green and you're saying, well, I'm still not getting results, it's not the system, it just might be how we're utilizing the system. And maybe we need more training, or we need some support, some one-on-one coaching to learn, am I saying the right things? Am I doing the right things? Look, you could do 100 one-to-ones a week. If you do them wrong, it's not going to produce results for you. So this report is designed to give members a chance to understand the data that already existed easily and effectively. How do I really interpret what a POMS report is? So it's just a tool to allow you to see these two things. Are you being active and are you being effective? The why behind it was around, why do members not renew? Why are members in B&I not renewing? That was the fundamental question at first. And I kept getting answers like, well, they're not getting results. So we asked, why are they not getting results? And I kept getting answers of, well, if they just did it, they would get results. And nobody to me was asking the next question, which was, why are members not engaged? Why are they not doing it, quote unquote? And I just believe that most didn't understand they weren't. They didn't understand the data. And we have to realize that we're all very busy. So we go to a B&I meeting, we leave the B&I meeting. The second we leave the B&I meeting, what are we no longer thinking about? The B&I meeting, right? We're inundated with our deadlines and family and everything else. Holiday season now, everybody's crazy busy. And all of a sudden your B&I meeting sneaks up on you again. And in BNI, we always talk in terms of we, right? In the chapter, we passed this many referrals, we did this much business, we did these many one-to-ones, we. And when you're very busy and you're hearing the totals, it's very easy to assume you're playing a role in that, even if you're not. And so there was no way to easily interpret the data and easily understand, you know, where am I, if I'm not getting results, where am I failing? Am I again not being active? Am I not being effective? Both? What is it? And so it was just designed to be a tool to allow members to understand it very easily. And it only tracks the things you are accountable for, the things that drive the knowledge base of your fellow members. So it's attendance, it's the referrals you're passing, living the giver's game philosophy, looked at on a weekly basis, average, your average number of visitors a month, your average number one-to-ones a week, and your average CEUs a week. These are the things every member is accountable to. Are you showing up? Are you passing referrals? Are you bringing visitors? Are you doing one-to-ones? And are you training yourself? Everything else is out of your hands. So that's what we wanted to track. And believing that the active members will produce better results and thus retain, and the chapter becomes better. The reason we call it the power of one now, we used to call it the traffic lights too. We call it the power of one is because the power of doing each of these things, but also from the philosophy of it and the power of each member in a chapter. It's very easy to lose our own self-worth in a group setting. And no chapter, no region, no country, no organization can reach its true potential unless every member does. And we have to realize that, and we have to focus on that and make sure that we're producing the best we can produce for the chapter for the benefit of not just ourselves, but everybody in that chapter, and that culture starts generating. So you guys have the power of one. This is just another example, different way of looking at it. Again, scoring 100 is 95% better attendance on a 6-month basis, average one referral per week pass, average one visitor a month, average one-to-one per week, and one CEU per week. These are really nothing more than we expected from ourselves when we first joined. And that's to score 100. You could still get in the green and cut off one category altogether. And you can still be in the green if you not only cut off one category, but only did half of another. So it's a very fair reporting system. It's just, again, it's not about judging people or ranking people or anything like that. It's just about interpreting the data in an effective way so that you can make the changes you need to make. You know, one of the things I get asked all the time, or pushback, is from members who are in the red who are generating a lot of business. And they say, well, I'm in the red, what do I care? And my answer to that is, imagine what you would generate if you were in the green, and imagine what you would generate for others. That's the key part. Sometimes when we focus on just what am I making from BNI, it's a very selfish standpoint. Maybe we're not producing for others at the same value or as much as we could be if we increased our activity. And if we just say, well, I don't need to work hard because I'm making enough money, that's unfair to everybody else in the chapter. So it's important for us to look at not only ourselves, but also our fellow members and push each other and hold each other accountable and encourage each other to do more. So this is data is old now. It's probably about, I guess it's coming up on 8 months that I did at the national conference, but it still shows value. We just took one of my regions and looked at what was green members averages versus red members averages, not green versus gray and not yellow, just green versus red. And in that region, we had about 46 in the green and 15% in the red. So in attendance, our green members averaged 94%. It's like probably could have rounded up to 95. Red, 88. And that doesn't seem like a huge gap until you multiply that over a year. I mean, each meeting matters. Referrals, our green average passing 33.5. This is over the 6-month period. Our red, 12. So almost 1/3 of the referrals generated for their chapter. Green's almost 3 times. One-to-ones, our greens were doing 30.6, our red were doing 11. Again, almost 3 times more activity in one-to-ones. Visitors, 2.5 in that 6-month period, per average per month, looking at that 6-month period. So they're bringing close to 30, what is that? There's close to 30 visitors a year to the chapter, while the red is bringing a quarter a month, so that's 4 a year. And that to me is a pride factor that you invite when you're proud of what you're getting in your chapter. And people in green who are active are generating more results, thus they're more proud, so thus they're talking about it. Thank you for closed business. And this isn't tracked on the Power of One, but it shows the end result. Our green members averaged $28,557 during that 6 months. Our red averaged just shy of 7,000. That's more than 4 times the results. Members in the green were passing 4 times more business than the average member in the red. And so this just showcases again why it's important not only to look internally on what are we doing ourselves and have that self-accountability, but to really be paying attention to what's the culture in your chapter. Because if you're okay with your other members being red and gray, then you're okay with them producing a quarter of the results they could produce for you. And I think that's the biggest part and the biggest challenge any chapter faces is just changing the culture and putting that, one of our core values in B&I is accountability. And so keeping that accountability piece alive is vital to the success of any group. So that's real fast, but I figured that gives us a few minutes for just general questions around whether it's the report or the philosophy or the why behind it.
So, Tim, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I've been challenging, I always think our green members and even the upper level yellow members that kind of go in and out of green, I've been challenging them to say, pick a referral partner and help them, reach and pull them up with you. Do you have any suggestions around that? Just, reaching out to the folks and not in the mentoring program or anything else, just member to member.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, but I would even just do it as a culture of a chapter and celebrate successes, right? So the idea again is this is a history report. So the real question is and you carry the history. So, because it's a rolling 6 months. So I would set a culture of the chapter of just saying, do some educational moments and some challenges, maybe some games, whatever you want to do as a group, and just encourage everybody to up their game and watch the score improve. And then you can celebrate those successes, right? And then the real question is, okay, where are we 6 months from now? Because 6 months from now, that report will show all of the data from the time we decided to do this challenge or put this focus on or what have you.
Right.
Because again, carrying each other and pushing each other is easy because if you do a one-to-one with them, you both get credit, right? Now we start getting on that business and same thing.
Great. And then any questions out there from our
Yep, so there's one that came in. All right, so let's see. So I love the power of one relating to each person. I've only heard one of each category. Very powerful. Thank you. Ben asked Tim, I have a question. What if a member has consistently been green but has generated little to no business for themselves? I'm trying to counsel a friend and I'm at a loss for what to do to help this person. To me, that means they're not being effective. And so really the question is, you're doing the activity, so you've created the right habits. The question is, what are we doing when we're doing that time? And what I would do is tell them that, you've done the hardest part because a lot of people just have a hard time being active, but sit down with a director or with executive director and look at, what are you doing during your weekly presentations? What are you saying? What are you not saying? What do your one-to-ones look like? Are you using the worksheets provided by B&I and making sure they're focused and structured and everything else? Or are we just kind of having a chat and a coffee? Because again, we can get credit on an activity report and be very, very busy, but if we're not being effective, it doesn't matter. And that's why I tell people, this report shows you data, but it's not the end all be all because, yeah, you could be in the green and very easily not make any money. So I'd encourage them to take more training, but even more, take some coaching time, some support time to really look at it. Again, all of these categories we offer a lot of different trainings on. I'll give you just one piece, and this will probably be worth staying on. I know we're getting over the time, but if you hang on, just to give you an idea of one-to-ones. So I used to do 5 of them a week when I was a member. Most of you don't know my background, but when I left B&I to do B&I full-time, I was averaging 5 to 6 referrals a week. My first year, I didn't get anything. I'm very much a lucky B&I statistic. If my parents hadn't gotten involved, I would have quit, but once they did, I couldn't. So it forced me to learn. And people say, why would you do 5 one-to-ones a week? I do a whole 2-hour training on it, but I'll break one tool that I know all of you have in your one-to-ones that very few people use effectively, and that's their appointment book, their calendar. And what I did is once I generated some relationship with you, I would open up my appointment book and I would give you the next 10 referral opportunities I was going to have, which for me were client meetings, but it doesn't have to be client meetings. It could be especially now, this time of year, right? I'm going to this holiday party, I'm going to this family party, I'm going to these things where I know I'm not going to be sitting in an office by myself. And I would tell you who I was meeting with and where I was meeting them. And I would ask you to tell me for each one, what do I look for? What do I listen for that tells me these people might be a good referral for you? And if it happens, what do I say to them? Right. So I would do 5 one-to-ones, 10 each. And I couldn't tell you names because I sold life insurance, but I would tell you, like, I'm meeting a newly married couple at their house. I'm meeting this business owner at his office. I'm meeting these people here. Because the where and the who changes the trigger, right? It changes what I'm looking for, what I'm listening for, and what I might say to them. And I would just take notes for each one on what you told me. Now, that didn't mean it was going to happen. It didn't mean that I was going to see it, I was going to hear it, or if I did and what I said was going to work. But what it did do is it gave me 50 opportunities a week to find referrals for other people. And my success, without having to go anywhere else, without having to figure that out, just by taking advantage of where I was already going, my success rate was 5%. 5% of the time it worked. But that's 2 to 3 referrals a week. And so when I started doing that for my fellow members, they started doing it for me. And suddenly now every one-to-one I left knowing where they were going the whole week and prepped them for where they were going the whole week. Again, my success rate was about 5%. But by doing 5 of those a week, I was getting 100 to 150 referrals a year. And so we have the tools, we have the opportunity, we have an amazingly powerful asset by being in BNI that very few people truly tap into. So it's just taking training and learning these skill sets and learning these strategies to take advantage of the activity they're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only question that came in. I don't know if there's more. Okay, so people are either really bored or mind's blown. I don't know.
Or they're refilling their mugs. Yeah, I think for us, for our region, there hasn't been our focus on one of our core values for this next quarter is to really ramp up recognition, and that was the focus of our directors meeting Friday. And we have some green buttons that we give out to those folks, but really not just the recognized green members, but the folks that are actually moving incrementally. In our area directors, we're challenging them to work with the chapter leaders to bring those folks from the gray just up a little bit. You know, if we can just move, like you said, you just focus on one activity and bring that up, it's really not that difficult if people are really engaged. And I think the numbers show the lack of engagement, you know, and it all goes back to education. So that's why.
Yeah, and again, I just fundamentally believe that the lack of engagement is because people just aren't aware. It's not because people are lazy or they don't want to do it. It's just they're not aware. But I'll tell you this. So when we first did this years ago in New Hampshire, we also ran one for those who dropped. And we saw that 87% of our members who left were in the red and gray. So if your chapter has a lot of red and gray members, you're going to have a huge retention issue. And a retention issue is costly for you as a member, because that means you have to start over, new relationships every single time. You're redeveloping the referral confidence curve. You're delaying the results more and more. The longer you are together, the more results you'll produce. And so retention needs to be a focus of every chapter. And this report can kind of dictate where your retention issues are going to be, because without the activity, there aren't going to be the results. Without the results, people are going to leave. So I think it's important. One thing I would encourage you to do too, Cathy, we do in our regions is we do monthly recognition for chapters, top 3, net percentage green, chapters with nobody in the red, chapters with nobody in the gray. We give some like monthly recognitions to create the chapter culture.
Yep. And once a quarter, we're going to have after our roundtables at our locations, a celebration of those for green, and, you know, encourage those folks to attend, just a kind of a mixture of sorts. That will be the recognition as well. So, very good. Well, thank you very much. It's always good to hear, you know, a different voice to explain some things and encourage. So I really appreciate you taking your time. I know you are swamped with plenty of national director stuff plus your executive director, and then traveling back and forth. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And
My pleasure.
I know our members, just from sending it out to our entire membership, I saw some new names on here. So I was glad to see new chapters engaged on here because of you. So whatever works for getting them on here. So, all right.
My pleasure. And if you want to learn more or just listen to more, I do the B&I Power of One podcast, so they can definitely check that out.
Yeah, and I will point out that we have 2 perfect 100s, I believe, on here. I don't know if Justin is on here, but we had 3 for the month, so we recognize them. Quentin is on here. He's with Health Markets, and then Miss Tracy is with Mary Kay. She was in Tom Fleming's region before, so
Congrats.
they're on here. No surprise that they're green.
Yeah. So we have one of the larger chapters in the U.S. in Jacksonville. It's 82 members, and they have a 96% green average. But a lot of people think it's because they're big, and they're big because, right?
Because,
so,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you. Have a great week, and thank you for participating. We'll talk to you soon. I'll get this video posted on our YouTube channel as well.
Thank you, guys.